Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae, also known as Wildbow. You can read Worm in its original format by visiting parahumans.wordpress.com or donate to Wildbow's Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. This story isn't intended for young or sensitive readers. Readers who are on the lookout for trigger warnings are advised to give Worm a pass. For a complete list, check the description for all of Worm's trigger warnings.
Take that, you worms. We're back with our recap of season 3. Sorry, season 4.
Holy shit.
We're going super quick. Season 4 recap of our hypothetical. What if Worm was a TV series? And joining us, as always, for these recaps, we have Brockton Bay co-hosts Nick and Hannah. Welcome.
Hey, yo, bitches.
What's up, worms?
We've got some fun arcs. This is season 3, covers arcs 20 through 24 and change, where a lot happens, but also very little happens. If that makes sense. These were shorter arcs where like a lot of big moments happen that we wanted to make sure we addressed, but there's like it's this weird thing where everything happens really quickly and it feels like not a lot happens. And this is a problem we ran into as we were trying to adapt these arcs. Because we have a clear end of season 3 with Echidna and Coil and all of that happens. And we got a pretty definitive like start of the final season, if you will, with stuff to come. Saving spoilers for anyone who would prefer not to be spoiled. And so now we have this odd chunk in the middle that's definitely enough for a season, but yeah, we had some issues trying to figure out kind of how to stretch everything out. So this will be a lot of fun. Gonna get into the weeds here.
I think this is going to fit very much like if you've watched Arcane. You know, Arcane came out in 3 sets of 3 at a time, and each was its own sort of self-contained arc within those 3 episodes that built on the others, though. And I feel like the last season we had, Coil was, the first 3-4 episodes, and then Echidna the last 4 episodes, or however many we had. And I feel like that's an appropriate amount of time. And honestly, if we were doing a release, that would be a clever way to do it. You release 4 episodes and then wait a week and then the other 4. And I think the same for this. I think this is very much going to feel, here's the first half, here's the second half. It has cohesive themes, but narratively, those are 2 different cores, to borrow the anime term.
Yeah, good way of putting it. Let's dive in.
Wait, core? What?
Core. I believe it's COUR, but let's say you have a 26 episode anime, but the first half of that season, first 13 episodes, might be one core. And you can tell because they'll throw in a recap episode, usually as episode 13, to get you into the second core. And they might even split those between seasons where they have them all done. They're very clearly narratively the first 13 and the next 13.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I will say that of all the arcs that we've read, these episodes will be based on definitely do feel the most filler-ish. Not that they're really filler per se in the better narrative of Worm, but yeah, it's not quite the same as the other ones. I can see what you're saying with that, but I'm interested to hear what you guys do with it.
Yeah, very, very true, Nick. The big thing with this as we go into it, is that this is while the others have had action, and this one certainly will as well, I think the most powerful moments in this are going to be the non-action sequences. I think it's very much going to be the character drama, like the one-on-one character interactions that are going to sell this whole season. This is a drama heavy, and I don't mean that in like a social interaction sense, but in more of like a theatrical sense. Like this is two people in a room giving the performance of their life, and I think
A lot more like interpersonal as opposed to like
interpersonal. Yeah. And I think it's really going to show up and show out in this season.
Yeah, that makes sense.
On top of that, things to note, while we did plan out what we feel is pretty effective plot, this whole thing definitely focuses around Taylor, and we did not do a great job of coming up with a Duda protagonist.
Use a different word for Hannah.
A secondary protagonist.
Got it.
Where before we've been using like Detective Weld or Theo or something like that, we did not do a great job with this one of building in our secondary protagonist. There are times where we have definitely tried to make that better off of what's already in there, but for the most part, there is nothing new that strays from Taylor's perspective, unfortunately. And that is just our laziness, honestly. Because it would be an entire secondary storyline.
Yeah, this season would certainly have some more through lines continuing around Cauldron. Probably we've given Defiant and Dragon more quote unquote screen time in seasons 2 and 3. That would continue through here, but we haven't really touched on that. These are just sort of assumed at this point. Yeah, definitely would be stuff we would go back and fill in a lot of these gaps, especially when we want to break from sort of the main story for a moment.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like Clock Blocker would make a great Duda protagonist in this case. And like you said, Dragon Defiant, also pretty good for here.
Yeah.
I could see, depending on how far this goes, I could see kind of swapping out who that Deutera protagonist is. But I think Defiant and Dragon would make the most sense.
Yeah. Important themes here that we'll be going through off the top, I think, are identity and just the concept of doing what it takes. But with that in mind, I'll give a brief recap, and then do we want to jump with Jacob giving episode 1?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Brief recap, not going over all the ones, but just kind of what we did during the last season. Big differences here is Taylor ends up keeping Dinah to protect her from Echidna. Echidna's out and loose. She blames the Undersiders, but she also has in mind that Coil was keeping Dinah around, and Dinah, with her predictive abilities and possibly also Lisa, could help her fix all of this. So while she is mad, that is her goal, is to get Dinah. So Taylor decides to keep Dinah instead of returning her home before the Echidna fight. Taylor is forced to confront herself becoming like Coil. The fact that she kept Dinah, the fact that she will fight evil Skitter clones that kind of literally voice this aloud to her, which ultimately will lead Taylor to make decisions later on. The Travelers have more screen time when it comes to fighting Trickster and Echidna. They will do a vote, much like they did to get rid of Cody. They're going to relive that in voting to kill Echidna and get rid of Trickster. Along with that being sort of the big moment is them coming together, choosing to do that, and then Sundancer, cooks Echidna. Trickster's also captured on screen, and to have Cody say like, "Nah, you can keep him. We don't want him," and they, leave to Earth Aleph. And then finally, we do have Taylor make the decision to return with Dinah, who, when she leaves, hands her the 2 notes, and Taylor looks at them and begins to rethink her life. And that is the end of season 3. We do not see what those notes are, by the way.
Right. Yeah. Good point. So with that being said, as that's kind of the how we leave things off, episode 1 of season 4 kind of opens with Taylor waking up, looking at the pieces of paper that she got from Dinah, and starting to kind of go about her day. She manages her territory, travels with Charlotte to see the kids off to school and sort of get a feel for what's going on at Arcadia. And just to sort of kind of clue in a small change we made here to the pain of our patrons, and I say this with all the love, we have written Greg out of the story.
Dang.
It was just one of those characters that just did not make sense in an adaptation to shoehorn in. So we have gotten Taylor to school in a different way. She's merely going sort of just to make sure the kids get there, a little bit of recon, seeing that things are getting back to normal. While she's doing that, the Undersiders meet up with new villain groups that want to set up shop in Brockton Bay. And they're sort of the, de facto leaders of Brockton Bay from a villain's perspective. Taylor arrives at the school and is confronted by Emma, but ends up in the principal's office, which pings the PRT system. This is all happening pretty much as written. Dragon and Defiant talk about working through Defiant's problems and talking to Skitter when Director Pigott asks them to help with the Undersider problem. They go back and forth, they fight a bit, but the director gives the order and they follow. Cut back to the school outside of the principal's office. Taylor is confronted not by Greg, but by Dennis, Clockblocker, in Dennis form, who confronts her, guessing that she might be Skitter. And to kind of expand on that, we're again doing the same thing with Greg. We're just giving that role to Dennis here, where he is starting to put 2 and 2 together. Maybe we haven't delved perfectly into this, but maybe he overhears the conversation with Emma, just noticing her, her hair, her attitude, and just sort of starts to put it together and confronts her about it. Taylor almost convinces him otherwise, but then the villain alarm goes off and she wraps his ass in a locker. Taylor gets trapped.
She stuffs him in a locker?
Yeah, I forgot this one we had it on. We had a few different ideas, although I do like that one. But yeah, in whatever way, gets rid of him. And Taylor gets trapped in the school, rallies the students. Defiant and Dragon kind of just let them go. And that's a typo. I'm trying to read my last note. Thank you. Update. The news tries to interview people about everything that's happening, and Danny gets a final goodbye with Taylor. And that's the end of the pilot episode. First episode, not pilot. First episode of season 4.
Yeah. Okay, so couple of quick questions just to help me remember. You guys have decided not to introduce director tag, is that correct?
Yeah, you said Pigott?
Correct. Good pickup. We are bringing back Pigott and replacing everything in the season that has to do with tag. We're giving to Pigott.
Everything?
Oh.
Everything.
Yep. Oh, no. No, I don't like that. Okay.
I think it's just a character we already have a through line with.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I know. I know. Yep. I understand the reasoning.
Okay.
Don't have to like it.
Yeah, I figured this one
we'll
will
get to
probably
that later.
We will get to that.
It'll be the next couple episodes. We have some thoughts on that.
Yeah.
But we'll come back to that.
Yeah. Okay, so I will say that from a show perspective, having the same, or obviously I guess you had Coyle in there as the interim. I can't remember if you guys did that or not with Coyle.
We did.
Okay, yeah. So you had Coyle in the interim, but then going back to Pigott, I can understand that narratively. I think there's some some issues that might cause in the future, depending on the way things are taken. But I don't know. We'll see. So I just wanted to check on that. The other thing, did the Undersiders meet with new villain groups in this arc?
They
this
did
early, like with the
not.
Cord?
They
I didn't
meet
think they did.
immediately following Taylor's outing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
We
Okay.
just
'Cause she
repositioned
comes.
that.
They have that interlude in the book.
That's right.
with
That's right. Yeah, with a Cord. So,
Yeah.
so are you guys planning to introduce a Cord and his gang here? Or
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So part of this is, this is part of that having an aside that isn't Taylor all the time. Would be
Yeah,
Lisa's
okay.
just running the negotiations on this. Accord is very much on board already. So this is more like you get the vibe that this really is Lisa and Accord hashing out the negotiations and saying like, hey, the rest of you need to fuck off unless you take our deal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So almost the exact same thing, just Lisa's there instead. And which, I mean, she already is. And she also does a lot of the talking as well. But
I will say as a quick aside for Accord, for some reason in my mind, I'm imagining this animated, right? And the voice style that I'm imagining is Slade from Teen Titans.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which is Ron Perlman. So that's, for some reason, I don't know why, but just that like cool, calculating, but clearly very confident voice is kind of how I imagine him.
Oh yeah.
Man, it's not the image I had in my head, but that works very well. I like.
I mean,
that a
it
lot.
also helps that Slade wears a mask too, and Accord wears a mask, so it's kind of maybe it's just that vibe too. Okay, so I'm glad you explained who Dennis was, because you said he's confronted by Dennis, and I'm like, the who now?
Yeah.
So I was thinking then maybe, has the audience been introduced to Clock Blocker out of costume yet? Because if
I was
not,
going to ask the same thing.
that could be
we have
a
Miss
fun.
Yamada.
You have a Miss Yamada? Okay.
Yeah. So
they're
we
usually in
haven't
costume
really,
for that, aren't they? Or no?
Yeah, we haven't really dove into this a lot, but there's an implication that in the series there's a lot more focus on these other characters, the wards being one of them. I mean, even early on in season 1, we mentioned those couple scenes where they're like, hanging out in the headquarters, classes, things like that.
Yeah. Dealing with Sophia. We've got the college classes as well, where they're all not in costume.
That being said, and actually Alan and I didn't talk about this, I just had this thought earlier today. That being said, I think it would be kind of, we could play around with this, but even if in the very first episode, maybe we just fully replace Greg with Dennis, and Dennis is just in class as another student. And then it's kind of a fun little reveal when the audience sees him later.
That could be fun.
You could make it very Easter eggy. So that's someone's like, wait, he looks familiar. Like, how do we fucking know him? It's like, if you paid attention back in season 1.
Canonically, though, they are, I mean, if we kept them all in the same high school, but this is Arcadia that they are at, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Not Brockton Bay High.
Right. True. Right. Different school.
Yeah.
I mean,
you could combine them together if you wanted to.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, cool. So I'm glad you explained that. I am curious how, like, I guess I'm thinking practically right about Clock Blocker's powers. If he's already suspicious that she's Skitter, how in the world does she get him in a locker?
Okay, so here's
I don't know.
our
I'm just curious ideas for that, because I feel like
very funny, not necessarily physically possible, but it's
supposed to be hilarious.
The two of them like, have this confrontation where she's like, "Are you stalking me?" And he's like, "Whoa, like, no, I just, and he thought he had her dead to rights, but she starts yelling at him, and he like second guesses, like, oh, maybe this isn't Skitter. Maybe I've just made a huge mistake by calling that girl out, in the hallway." And like, she's like, "You're so weird," and then like walks away, and he's like, "Maybe I was wrong." And it's the cut of them like walking towards the camera, going either way, and she's like, "Oh man, shit, I got away with it." Like, I could see that I could feel with my bugs that he had a suit underneath. He was definitely a hero. And then they get to the ends of the hallways where they're almost away, and his watch goes off. That's like the villain alarm. And she like perks up, and they both turn and look at each other. And then he immediately like gets yanked by all the spider webs into a locker that like slams shut.
I fucking love I love that
like
imagery
strung up to
so
the
much.
ceiling and like taped up there.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. He doesn't notice that there's slugs been like slowly getting on his shoes as well.
The other idea was that he goes to do something more cerebral. He goes to do something, but Taylor has like woven. He goes to shoot his little claw things, but Taylor has woven a net, a spider's web, and the spider web also goes back to him. So when he touches it to like try and touch her, he just freezes himself.
Okay. Yeah. I can see that too.
Yeah, a lot of little funny things you could do.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of what. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe she like senses him down, like changing clothes, like, and another student as well. And it's like, there's the hero. Like, there's the wards.
I could see. This is a bit simpler and maybe not as funny, but I could see an instance too where like he reaches out to use his power, and then she stings him in the neck, so he like impulsively slaps himself. and then freezes himself that way.
That's good too. I like that.
And you just hear like the inner thought of him just going, God damn it.
Like, yeah. No. You cut almost near the end of this.
Yeah.
Where like everything's over and he busts out of it and just goes, damn it.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. But yeah, okay. I was just curious because knowing his power set, I was trying to think of how would she get him in a locker when all it takes is a touch? So I like the spider web idea. Obviously a bit goofy maybe, but it could be fun. I could see it being done in a clever way. Yeah.
And just as a note for the fans that are already typing, Clock Blocker cannot bypass the Manton effect. He would not be able to freeze himself directly. But he can freeze
himself?
He freezes
his clothes.
Yeah, he can freeze
That's
his costume.
right. He freezes his clothes. That's right.
Yeah. That's why his suit is a full bodysuit.
Right. Because I remember he survived the bombing of Mannequin and Crawler, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Him and
Weld?
the wizard.
No.
Who's
Mirrodin?
the wizard? Is it Mirrodin?
No, it wasn't Mirrodin.
Yeah.
No, who's the pocket dimension guy?
Oh, Cash.
Cash. That's right, because he sticks everybody in a little thing.
Cash
and
pulls
Taylor's
everybody into his little pocket.
Yes, and Taylor's worried that they're going to end up popping out at the wrong time, and Clockblower's going to unfreeze at the wrong time, and a car's going to fall on him. Yeah. Okay. So I definitely like the switch for Greg, because like fuck Greg, and also I freaking love Clock Blocker, and I love the idea of having more Clock Blocker out of costume. So I do definitely approve this change. I for a multitude of reasons, I'm not happy with the Pigott thing. Should we discuss Pigott at the end, because there's going to be so much Pigott stuff, or do you want me to just like talk about this now?
Let's
talk about it after the first
next episode.
I can wait. I'll wait a little bit. After everything with episode, Alexandria.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll hold comments about Pigott till then.
Yeah.
So, episode 2. Taylor talks to her mom's grave, looks at her pieces of paper again, and then suits up to have a talk with Pigott. Oh,
wait, I'm sorry. I remember I had a question about episode 1. You said she looks at the papers in episode 1. Do we see them, or is it she just looking at them?
Nope. Okay, every time we have her look at the piece of papers, we do not see what they are.
Okay, solid. Continue, please.
All right. Talks to her mom's grave, looks at the piece of paper, suits up to have a talk with Pigott. The Undersiders raid the PRT building in retaliation, and Taylor talks face-to-face with Pigott about all the mess that she's caused. Taylor asks how she got reinstated in a quick comment, and Pigott says she's been cleared by Thinkers. Pigott then threatens Danny, and Taylor hints that she was the one that removed Thomas Calvert and has no problem in removing Pigott as well. Pigott is grateful that Taylor has outed Cauldron and Thomas, but now she thinks she needs to finish the job that Taylor started and drop the hammer on all the capes who think they can own this city. Taylor asks for concessions. Pigott is unyielding. Taylor sicks her bugs on her and leaves. Regent and Imp take care of the Fallen in the meantime when Taylor pulls up and sees the body control maneuver. Taylor points out that they need to kneecap Valfor for what they've done and does the maggot thing. Taylor then hands him over to Miss Militia and Flechette, and talks about what happened to Pigott earlier, because relaying also that Pigott is kind of not inconsolable, but too stubborn to be effective for this city. Taylor then goes and spends time with Brian. Taylor comes home to find Miss Militia there. They talk civilly, and Taylor gets her to finally agree to the concessions for the team. Taylor then goes and has her time with Bitch. Flechette leaves the PRT and goes to join Parian. Taylor then goes and spends time with Lisa, who asks her if this was really what she wants to do. And Taylor says yes, that it's the only way, and then gives her the pieces of paper that she got from Dinah. Finally, the reveal of the pieces of paper. Taylor then walks into the PRT building and surrenders. The end.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, this one doesn't change a whole lot other than obviously Taylor or Pigott being there instead of Tag. I'm guessing too, with meeting the new villain groups, that's where you introduce the Fallen and some of those characters. Right? Because otherwise, otherwise it wouldn't make sense for them to be fighting them, or to mention Valafor specifically if we haven't seen him before.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to remember who's at that meeting in that interlude.
It's the Teeth.
The Teeth, right?
The Fallen, Accord.
Accord's group.
And I
think that
feel
was
like there's one more, but that may be it.
I think that was it. Yeah, because the other groups that they mentioned come in later.
Yeah.
So, and the Fallen are the ones who were like, the Fallen and the Teeth both kind of say like, we're not putting up with this.
Yeah, why would we put up with those ridiculous demands? And they're like, that's sort of the point.
Yeah. So, okay, yeah. So that makes sense then that they're fighting Valafor. This episode, I feel like, has the potential and the risk of being very scattered. And being a bit difficult to manage all the little bits of things that are going on. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like this one would just be following. This would be while they are all Taylor centric, this is like the camera's always behind Taylor. Taylor's always thinking about something. Like, clearly something's always on her mind. Like, this is the something's happening here and I don't get it. And we're just constantly following Taylor in this.
Yeah. That makes sense.
She's clearly leading towards something, but we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
And it's also one of those things, like a lot of the points here, like literally a lot of our bullet points are all one scene, essentially, like the raid on the PRT building. So things like that'll kind of, that'll take a chunk of time, but there's room for things to breathe.
Yeah.
Ideally.
Valafor doesn't even get a full fight. Like, this is Imp and Regent are hunting him. He thinks he gets the upper hand. They pull their maneuver. Like, Taylor's like, you done clearing up the Fallen?
Yeah, right. I do think the one big change that I think might matter story-wise in the long term, I'm just trying to remember. I feel like there was something about Taylor not telling the Undersiders that she was leaving. Like, obviously she knows that Lisa would suspect it, but Lisa's been caught up in, if I remember the arc right, she's been like overusing her brains, and she's kind of out of commission anyway.
Well, Lisa tells her, give him hell.
Yeah,
that's her last words to her.
Okay, that's true.
Like, you sure you want to do this? She goes, go, yeah. She's like, okay, give him hell. Like, I don't think she tells Lisa, but Lisa figures out and knows the whole time, because of course she does.
Okay, gotcha. I couldn't remember that arc super
does
clearly.
Not tell.
Right. I couldn't remember the rest of that arc super clearly, and whether or not it was important that she didn't tell anybody. But it works either way. I think it's fine. And then ending the episode on that cliffhanger of her just walking into the PRT building and surrendering. Pretty cool.
Yeah, should go hard. And it's also, if you think there's too much, that's a good problem we can have, because in all honesty, I'd like there to be more episodes per season. And I know a lot of that's going to happen naturally as we kind of, like we said, fill in some of the extra plot lines and sort of space things out. But especially if you're noticing that's like, man, this feels a little packed, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because that way we can kind of spread this out a bit if we need to.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's good. I don't really have any.
Season 2. This one followed the arc, I think, pretty closely.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have too many notes.
Cool. All right. Episode 3 opens. Taylor in her cell quietly while everyone else is freaking out. Piglet and Defiant and Dragon get into a bit of a blame game back and forth. Miss Militia gets involved as well, and Piglet accuses them all of being corrupted by Skitter's influence. Miss Militia asks where Flechette is, and the wards get on it, looking for her. Piglet confronts Taylor, but her lawyer arrives and they discuss demands.
Yeah.
Away from the PRT, Lisa rallies the troops, including Perian and Flechette, who we see has decided to join Perian, but does sit this little fight out. Piglet brings in Danny and talks to him. Clockblocker brings Flechette's goodbye note to Miss Militia, saying that Vista is confirming everything. Danny and Piglet talk to Taylor and her lawyer. Vista and the other wards visit Perian and Flechette, ready for a fight, but not finding one. And Lisa brings in Sierra to a nice conference room with the lawyers and asks her if she's ready. End of the episode.
Okay, I do have a thought now from the previous episode, but it works with this episode, right? So I was looking back at the last episode and thinking, why did I feel like it was so full? And honestly, it felt like it was all Taylor-centric, which is great, except the one scene with Flechette leaving the PRT and joining Perian.
Mm-hmm.
So my thinking is take that out, right? So you end the confrontation with Miss Militia, Flechette, and Taylor. Flechette seeming upset and angry, but, not like doing anything decisive, right?
Yeah.
And then you have this episode 3 scene where Miss Militia says, wait, where's Flechette? And somebody goes like, well, we thought she was with you. That's when, we last saw her as an audience. So that would work. And then you have that scene. Because then what I think you can do is you could have the scene where Flechette and Perian talk. And then Lisa and the other Undersiders come in and say, hey, something's gone down. Flechette, you might want to sit this one out, kind of thing. So I feel like that could be a bit more of a natural place to put that instead of interrupting Taylor's. What we learn later is Taylor's goodbyes to the Undersiders with Flechette leaving the PRT, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Because actually, as you're saying it out loud, I wouldn't want to interrupt the goodbyes. I think you would want all those together. And yeah, I like your idea of just moving the reveal to the next episode. You can still have a little bit of disagreement with Flechette, but then leaving that into it. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's good.
Another thing that I'll bring up in our own thing is we couldn't figure out, because I like Sierra, but Sierra hasn't been around for a little bit, and in the story, like, she leaves for good reason, and I find it surprising that she would come back to work for the Undersiders.
Yeah.
So to be honest, we didn't have a great person. Like, we couldn't bring Charlotte. I would love to bring Charlotte, but Charlotte's in high school. At best, we bring Forrest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to do this. Yeah, like, we have a limited amount of people that are unpowered and more off, not directly tied with the Undersiders, that could take this role. Like, it's very limited. So honestly, we could either keep Sierra, or if we wanted to go with somebody that we are more familiar with now in this time, then we'd just use Forrest.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Forrest doesn't kind of strike me as the businessman, though.
No.
And that's kind of who you want to have there.
Yeah.
I feel like neither was Sierra.
I feel like we've called Forrest like the camp counselor vibes before.
Yeah. I mean, Sierra shows up with her nice suit and her dreadlocks still, her dyed red dreadlocks.
That's true. But she's been gone, though, so I feel like you could have that where it would be kind of neat to have her back. I guess the question would be, I don't know. It's tough because after this, both Forrest and Sierra kind of disappear from the grand narrative of Worm.
Yeah.
So-
I was gonna say Sierra disappears. Forrest is still like
With the
yeah,
well,
he's
in
still
the
hanging out
sense
with
of
kids
like,
all the
I'm
time.
not saying that he's not existent. I'm just saying like in the bigger narrative, the
Yeah.
arcs we've been reading, I don't think he's
Yeah.
ever been mentioned.
he's
you know,
not
Yeah.
he's not story forward at
Yeah.
Well,
all.
I mean, we've seen him all the way back in season 2. We've seen him in season 3. Now we see him in season 4. But Sierra shows up and leaves, I believe, both in season 2.
yeah. I could see. So I remember why she left in the story, and maybe this would be, this is more meta editing. Maybe I'm trying to think of like how to do this. Maybe something you could do is like have Sierra leave, but not make it seem as permanent as it is in
Yeah.
the story. In the sense of like, she's like, I'm just really uncomfortable with all of this frontline stuff. Put me somewhere where I'm like, I want to help you,
Yeah.
but I don't want to know that I'm helping you. Like, you don't have to make it
Exactly.
that obvious, but make it
I
something
mean,
where
I was
it's-
just gonna have her go
no.
back to college otherwise.
Sure.
Like, hey,
yeah,
this is cool. I was back, I was just here taking like a gap year or something. Like, I've got grad school to go back to. Like,
yeah.
and it's not in state either. Like, that could be the other thing. It's like,
I mean, you could do a fun thing, right? Where she's like, writes her number down on a piece of paper and gives it to Taylor and is like, but, we're friends. Call me if you need help. And then when she gives the paper from Dinah to Lisa, she gives that phone number to Lisa as well. That might be a
Yeah.
bit too close in timeline, but, that's kind of an idea. That's what, like, one way that you
Yeah.
could do it to kind of bring it back to something else.
No,
Oh yeah,
I
that's
like
actually
that
that
a lot.
actually
I like
works.
that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually, I think you could fit that in pretty easily. You could, as Taylor is essentially trying to just, subtly, not so subtly, give Lisa all of her resources.
Mhm.
She could easily kind of throw in there. Oh, and by the way, Sierra's there if you need her, that kind of thing.
Well, even with, because it's Tattletale, if you just hand her the two pieces of paper and the camera briefly shows the number
yeah.
and then what Dinah's note shows. I mean, well, if the audience has that memory, who knows if they would.
Yeah.
But that's just one
that's-
idea for how you could do
No,
it.
that's not bad. I like it. There's a few ways to work that. And I mean, the short answer is that maybe we just kind of rewrite Sierra a bit and just keep her around this
Yeah.
whole time,
Yeah.
just so that she's there.
I'm very
That'd be
okay keeping the trio.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can just keep
I-
her around.
Love Sierra, love Forrest, love Charlotte.
Yeah.
Just keep like Taylor's little squad kind of always there doing
Kind
things.
of in the background. Yeah.
That way it's this way it's not so out of the blue when she steps up.
And also like, because like Alan talks about a lot, is the like having those like fun sidekick characters. Like those are the characters that we love to see pop up over and over and over again. And so like having the squad step up and like seeing her in the business suit with her dreads and everything, like I think that's really cool. And I'd prefer that over Forrest. Like I love Forrest, but like Forrest, like I said, he gives Camp Counselor vibes, and I love that image of him.
Right.
And I love the idea of Sierra like stepping forward and like really becoming the face of things. So like I like that, and I would like to keep them around. So if you guys are okay changing the script to like add more of them, I would say do that. Because like the characters that I tend to enjoy and care about are like the side characters that have a lot of, I was gonna say have a lot of character, but you know what I mean? Like they have
lot of heart.
They have a lot of heart, and we love to see them. And when they pop in, we're like, yay, it's Charlotte. It's like, it's Forrest. It's like we see them all again.
I mean, shoot, we can make Sierra Lisa's personal assistant. Like,
I mean, that way she's not
You know.
directly working, like, she's like in the nitty gritty, but she's not in the nitty gritty.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Because I don't want to lose her as a character.
A little peek behind the curtains. We have not actually written any scripts out. So,
Alan has.
well, yeah, about like we started a while ago.
We started strong and we
Yeah.
pittered off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anything can be changed at this point. All right. Any other thoughts on episode 3?
All right. Episode 4. Sierra steps out and gives a press conference about owning the portal. Cuts to
Yay.
Pigott watching and distastefully makes a call. Taylor spends time talking with her dad. Lisa is calming the Undersiders, telling them to wait. Pigott tells Taylor that she's made her make a very distasteful choice, but that it's worth it. Taylor and her lawyer start to give their demands again, and a cape in civilian clothes touches down outside, strolls into the PRT building. Alexandria steps into the interrogation room and begins threatening the Undersiders. Taylor blames Pigott for bringing in a cauldron cape, and Pigott says that Taylor made her do this. Alexandria brings back a body, and then another. Taylor goes off, killing Alexandria and Pigott before being knocked out. When Taylor wakes up, he's in an abandoned PRT building with Dragon covered in bugs, unharmed. She talks to her, tells her to disperse the bugs, convinces her to stop. Call off the bugs, Taylor, please. Dragon removes her helmet as the swarm leaves the room. She twirls the helmet in between her hands and looks at Taylor with her odd-looking AI-generated face. Dragon talks for a long time, apologizing, speaking for Defiant, for the heroes, for herself. Taylor complains and lashes out and argues, but Dragon is there, and Dragon is kind, and Dragon listens. And finally, Dragon gives Taylor the one thing that she has only trusted to one other cape, something that Dragon stole from Taylor, and a grand gesture of true sympathy. She tells Taylor the story of her trigger, her father's work, and at the end says, "I'm a lot like you, Taylor. I would never have done any of this to you if I had my way. I know you want to be a hero. I want you to be a hero. But you have to live with the constraints, and that's just part of being human. For you, or it's part of being human for you. The constraints for me are part of me, but they're a little bit different." Dragon reaches to remove the skin where her ear meets her jaw, pulls back to show mechanical parts, wires, technology. Nothing human. Never was human. Dragon does convince Taylor to let Defiant apologize on the roof, tells her that they want her to join them, but that the S9 has gone into hiding beyond this world. They hash things out, and Taylor helps come up with the plan. Ultimately, we stroll out to the press conference where they all announce Alexandria and Pigott's betrayal and the becoming of the hero Weaver. All of this ends with a montage of Charlotte being home with Forrest and the kiddos, the Undersiders, the various villains, etc. Just call me Weaver. End of episode 4.
So with that, yeah, I really like the idea of having that montage, because that interlude where everybody in different groups are reacting to Taylor announcing herself as a hero is one of my favorite interludes, I think. Just because I can see that in film so easily, and it's so easily imagined, right? Because you've got Shadow Stalker, the Slaughterhouse-9, Parahumans Online. I'm trying to remember some of the others. Marquis, I think, right? And so
Marquis and Long.
Marquis and Lung. And so there's a bunch of fun, like there's a fun recap there for people who've stuck with the story that long of all the people reacting to Taylor. So I do like that ending for that episode. Okay, so let's get into the pig in the room, if you will.
Yeah.
Having Pigott die here. Hannah, how do you feel about that? You seem like you have feelings.
Oh, I have so many strong feelings. Okay, so like one of the reasons that I really like Pigott is because she talks about, specifically with Tattletale, about the whole understanding that it is a game, the whole cat and mouse. Like she understands the balance that exists, and even if we give her this like extra crunchy cauldron vendetta thing, which like sure, yeah, no, that makes sense, but like it still doesn't feel like, I don't feel good if she dies. I'll say it like that. As the reader, as the viewer, I don't feel good about her death. I know her. I like her. I sympathize with her and this idea that she's trying to make Brockton Bay better. She's trying to make the PRT better. Like I don't agree with all of her methods, specifically in previous seasons, but like I like her. Tag can fucking go to hell and burn for a million years. Like, because when we meet him, he's so staunchly opposed to this idea. This isn't a game, little girl. This is war. Like, it makes it really easy to hate him. And so when he dies, we're cheering on Taylor. We're on her side. We get it. We're like, yeah, fuck that guy. And maybe we're like, oh, this is maybe went a little too far, but we're on her side for it. If she kills Pigott, it's going to feel like, whoa, Taylor, you overreacted. And I don't know if I'm on your team anymore, you know? Like, that's the emotional reason why I don't like it. But the character of Tag is easy to hate because he's so military. He's so like staunchly opposed to this idea that like everything is kind of the gray space in between black and white. While like Taylor and Pigott and Tattletale, they all understand that like, no, the world isn't so simple. It isn't right and wrong, good guys and bad guys. It's like there's a lot more complicated things going on here. And I think that if you had Pigott in this space, she would be like, she knows Taylor, and she knows that Taylor will just like do what she has to. And Tag would see Taylor as a snotty little girl who he can like break by force. And it doesn't like it, am I making sense?
Oh yeah, good thoughts.
Yeah. I agree with you for the most part, except that I don't a lot of your points stand, but I don't think Pigott has been cooperative or helpful or
I'm
like,
not saying that she is helpful or cooperative.
I mean
but the
in the
mindset.
way that of like playing the game. She doesn't. Like, she's always been very militant. She's always been very, while maybe a little bit concerned on the relations with the PRT and public facing appearance. I don't think her relationship with the heroes, she's always been, no. Like, remember that she is the one who chose to firebomb an area of the city with people still in it, like
Right.
knowingly. Like,
Yeah.
she will do what it, once again, she will do what it takes. And at this point in time, like, Taylor's already killed another director. She's going to hit her where it hurts. Like, she's brought in the dragon, that, you know, the dragon bots before. She'll do it again. And now that she has a leverage on Danny, like, there's no reason why she wouldn't do that.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
So the main reason that you guys have for having Pigott back is to keep this through line of this character. Is that correct?
Continuity, yes.
Yeah. I don't think you need it. I think every season you add new people to the story. That happens. And in this season, we're not adding a ton of new people. Thus far. We're not adding new people. We're dealing with the people that we know. We have Clock Blocker that's getting revealed. We're getting this whole thing with Dragon and Defiant again. Love that. I don't think there's anything wrong with adding a new director back. Like the idea that like, yeah, we've gone through directors and he's just another one on the line. Because then when he dies, it's like, fuck yeah, go Taylor. Okay, great. There's not like this. Like, if you bring Pigott back as the director and then you kill her, even if she doesn't have a role in the rest of the book, as is anyways, it feels like you're ending her character. You're bringing her back just to kill her, right? And I don't think that's necessary. I feel like we already have a character that we can, introduce. We can have that clash with Tag and Taylor. We can have that moment where they retaliate, they attack the PRT, and you can have this little back and forth. but have it with Tag and be like, who the fuck are you? It's like, well, I'm, I've heard about you. Like, you're just some little girl. Because I love the line about like, this isn't a game, this is a war. Like, I feel like that is Tag. Like, he is the brusque military asshole kind of guy. And I don't think that it's going to be like, I don't think it's going to feel like too much to add one new major character in, is what I'm saying. And I think that the reason of, oh yeah, well, we want this character back again to have Pigott there, I don't think it's a good enough reason.
I will say, I'm actually maybe more on Allan and Jacob's side here. And
I'm so disappointed.
Let me try to justify why. Originally, because here's the thing, right? Here's the thing, Hannah.
Nick?
I'm sorry. I know we got to be the critics together. But here's the thing. I was originally more on the side of like, why just bring back Pigott the Killer? And plus, weirdly, I've come to like Pigott's character. But I'm starting to think about it. And this moment of killing Alexandria and Tag in the story is a very cathartic moment. Not in the sense of like, oh, that felt really good, but in the sense of it's the release of a lot of buildup of issues that have been happening. And in a show, because this is going by so fast and with so few episodes, I don't know that you hit that catharsis like you do in the web serial. Because in the web serial, we're introduced to Tag. We have time with Tag. We get to know Tag. He's around for a bit. Like, he's there for a couple of, like, not very long, but for long enough that we get to know him.
We grow to really hate him.
Exactly. And for a TV show, I just don't know that we have the time to grow to hate him. So here would be my only caveat to this, is that if you're going to kill Pigott here, you need to make her a bit worse in the previous seasons. In the sense of, it really feels like Pigott and Taylor have been at odds in the same way that like Taylor and Armsmaster are. So that you get that catharsis when Taylor finally steps up to her and says, enough is enough. You're killing my friends. I'm not going to let you guys do this anymore. And goes, berserker mode. Yeah. So in a way, I think for the purposes of a TV show and the limitations that requires, I kind of think maybe, maybe Pigott is the right choice here. Disappointing because later in the actual serial, she does kind of come onto Taylor's side and helps Taylor. So that's the one issue I see there, is that Pigott kind of is a weird advocate for Taylor, if I'm remembering it right. So that would be the one thing.
Yeah, there's a little compromise we could have here too, because Nick, your last point, I've thought about that as well. So to defend my own actions, I've spoken at lengths about how much I distaste killing in shows, not because of like gross, but because I just think it's lazy writing for the most part. I think killing characters is easy, as opposed to like killing ideas and themes. And I really dislike introducing characters that are wearing the red shirt, to borrow from that Star Trek lingo.
Yeah.
That are just clearly being set up for some sort of fall or death, because there's no point to the character. And I think in Taylor's case specifically, she has only killed one person at this point, Coyle. So any life she's taken at 4 seasons into the show, she has killed one person intentionally. To then just mindlessly kill in a fit of rage, and justified, but then for her next 2 deaths to be one very prominent death, but one like really meaningless death in her story, it just feels a little off for her character. However, Nick, to kind of touch on your point, we don't have to kill Pigott here. We're just matching the beats as they fall in the web serial, just to kind of stay on track. But the death here that matters isn't Tag. Remember, in the serial, he dies off screen.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
It's Alexandria. So as long as Alexandria dies, which I don't think any of us have any desire to change, it's like one of the greatest moments of the show.
Yeah.
As long as that happens, the same way, maybe Pigott just gets bee stung for a bit or something like that. Just sort of maybe it is portrayed as like Taylor lost control, was going after Alexandria, didn't pay attention to what her swarm was doing, and Pigott almost dies and goes in anaphylactic shock or something like that. You could do it a lot of different ways and keep Pigott alive, and that way, Nick, to your point, does still have a bit, and maybe that's a bit of Pigott's internal character redemption that she doesn't really get in the serial. So you could do that as well, and then just focus on the death being Alexandria's death, being the big moment, which it is.
Yeah. You'd have to. I feel like the only issue with that I could see people coming up with is being like, because in the arc, obviously this is a point of no return for Taylor.
Yeah.
And so how does Pigott go from, oh, that girl nearly killed me, to, yeah, she's cool. Like she has our best interest in mind. Like I
was implying that you could take Pigott out of commission in much the same way. Like she's been stung to the point where she's in intensive care for a couple weeks, that kind of thing.
Put her in a coma.
But then if you did want her to come back, I feel like that would be a difficult comeback to come back from.
That's true.
Unless now you can frame it where she calls Alexandria to be the big guns, but then becomes very uncomfortable with how Alexandria is doing things. And is like, wait a second, like we agreed we weren't, like maybe she doesn't know that Alexandria isn't really killing the Undersiders, right? She does the whole like, wait, we didn't agree to this. Like this isn't what we said we were going to do. Makes her really uncomfortable.
I like that.
Then that would make a bit more sense. But you just got to think about like, okay, person almost kills me. How does that character then turn to being like, oh, I support you now?
Right.
I actually like that a lot because that would also help sell the ploy that Alexandria is attempting a bit to the audience. Because nobody's going to think she's killing the Undersiders. But if you kind of throw in that bit of, around the corner, Pigott's like, what the fuck are you doing?
You just have her on the earpiece in her office being like, what the hell?
You don't, audience still isn't going to think that, but it does sort of just plant that idea like, what? Are they really dying? Like, it's just kind of one of those things. So I actually like that idea. That's good. Yeah. I think that would work pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, because once again, Alexandria is, from what I assume, the one that comes up with the plan, the one that is doing all of this. You can literally have Pigott step out of the room and be like, I'm going to step out of the room for a second. And then Alexandria walks in and they're like, whoa. And, she's thinking like, whatever, one of those cop, whatever happens in the, in the room, with the Sicario. But Pigott means that in a controlled environment and doesn't realize how far Alexandria is going to take it. Like, that works fine.
And Hannah, to your points about the conversation between Tag and Taylor, because that is probably the one thing that I was bummed to cut, because I do like some of their back and forth. We could still give that to like Alexandria and Taylor. The whole "this is war," that kind of thing. We could fit in that dialogue and just kind of draw out their conversation a bit, and I think you could still hit some of those beats.
Yeah, I would like that. I'm not. I agree with what's being said. I can concede the fact that I like that a little bit better. Also, I think from just in a very emotional place, I didn't want Pigott to die. So like if she ends up in a coma, she's got some beats, like, okay, I'm okay with that. I just didn't want Pigott to die because I really like her as kind of this, not villain, but adversary figure opposing Taylor, especially in like the early seasons. And so having her be back would be nice. I didn't want her to die, so she lives. That's great. I definitely like the idea of we didn't agree to this. I think that adds authenticity to Alexandria's ploy. I'm quite satisfied with this actually.
Yeah, this is why I love storyboarding, because it all comes out. It's great.
Yeah, I think a couple points with Pigott as we like ramp her up in bastardry if we were to do that, is this would be a great point for Pigott to basically go off on Taylor. We're talking about deaths and stuff like the big point of, Game of Thrones is like, oh yeah, a person dies if they fuck around and then they find out. Like, it's a natural consequences to actions. And in this case, Taylor has fucked around for quite a while, and this is the find out stage. So like, this is where all those things like attacking Shadowstalker, attacking heroes in their homes comes to a head. Her beating the Slaughterhouse 9, where Pigott didn't entirely, kind of goes to show like, hey, you are holding territory, which is, Pigott can go off on the same things. You are fighting the US government. You have declared territory. Like, we legally have to go after you. And you have proven to be dangerous, like, beyond reasonable measure. We have to take you out somehow. And this is where that starts. And I think that's a fairly good assessment that this is the find out stage from Pigott. And Pigott doesn't even have to be gone that long if we think about 3. Like, she was just stepping down for a temporary amount of time while Calvert, literally is a master thinker protocol. Like, she doesn't have to be gone for that long. She can increase the bastardry as Taylor also has increased in danger. And then I love the idea of Alexandria being the worst bastard in this case. For sure.
Make her the extra spicy bad villain.
Yeah, this is bad cop, worst cop.
So, yeah, the dragon reveal is interesting. I guess it makes sense here. Kind of a unique moment.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about that. Do you
we
like
kind of went over that.
Do you like that, Nick?
It.
This like heart-to-heart reveal all secrets moment?
Before you answer, Nick, let me say, because we hadn't been very clear on this.
Okay.
We hadn't been very clear on this, but we have been playing around at a few different points, just kind of in the episodes, of when to place Dragon's reveal to the audience. Do we keep it all the way back when she kind of reveals it to Colin? Do we kind of keep it there? Or do we place it somewhere else? This would be, if we kept it as is, this would be the reveal to the audience that Dragon is an AI. So up until this point, she would not have been revealed. Assuming as written as we have outlined it here, this is a potential reveal.
Okay.
So now, go ahead.
Yeah. So I like the heart-to-heart because, Dragon's a great character, and I imagine if you've had her as a through line and you have her in the whole school scene, I think that having this could be really good. I don't know about revealing everything. I think maybe...
Yeah.
This feels like a weird... Maybe it feels like a weird place to put this, only because... This is like the hugest episode ever, then in terms of reveals, right? Because
true, it is big.
Because there's so much that happens, right?
Big.
I feel like then we have Alexandria coming, Alexandria dying, Pigott nearly dying or dying, not decided yet. Dragon revealing she's a robot AI. I don't, and then the Weaver revelation. I feel like it's a bit much.
Can we break it up?
We could easily move the Dragon conversation to the beginning of the next episode.
Well, I think it's not so much that. I think the conversation needs to happen because I think Dragon needs to be the one who kind of helps Taylor have the idea to join the PRT or to join the wards.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But skipping the reveal until sometime later.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
So, I just don't know when that would be, right?
Okay. Thought. Okay. So we still have the heart-to-heart moment. We have like maybe Dragon says something about like, oh, my dad, blah, 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 blah. And then kind of leaves it a little like short. And so the audience goes, oh, there's more there. But we don't give it to them, right? We tease it. And then later, because later on, we deal more with Dragon being an AI. And this idea of like defiant tinkering with the code to try to make her more autonomous and like more an individual. And so we could wait until after the time skip or like near the newer Endbringers that show up to kind of have that reveal with Dragon. Because we have later on in fuck whatever arc it is that like she's down and Defiance like shit, like did she not, like she didn't back up correctly, like the code is fucked up. Like it might be good to have it kind of closer to that section where it's like, okay, like why is it bad that like some code's fucky wucky? Like there's something going on. Like Defiance fucking with some code. We don't know really what it is. We're trying to figure out. We know that like Dragon and Defiant are all techie people. And like, okay, so there's some shit. Maybe he's like trying to decode some, like weapon or something. Like, what is it? Like trying to figure it out and then maybe drop. I don't exactly know how, but drop it like then. So that it feels like we're getting like, oh, not only is she like been having to fight these parameters this whole time, but like Defiance trying to fix it so that she can be her own individual.
Mm-hmm.
Because I agree with Nick. It feels like too much to put it right there, right after fair. Alexandria. Because that's such, and even if you push it to the next episode, the beginning of the next episode, that is like heavy hitter through the entire episode. Episode ends. We're like, holy fucking shit, new episode. Also dragons and AI. Like, whoa, okay. That's a lot. Like that hitting me with so much at once.
Yeah, that's fair. That's good. That's a good point.
Because like even if you're waiting a week between episodes or, doing like what Alan said earlier, with like a couple episodes and then like a couple weeks later, a couple more episodes, whatever it is you're doing, you're still going to have like the people who decide to binge the whole show. And like that gap won't be there. It'll be like episode's over. Start next episode. Yes.
Yeah. You got to plan for the binge watchers.
You got to plan the bingers, the longevity, because that's me. I'm the binger. I just Bones, Criminal Minds, constantly playing in the background.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe we do end up placing the reveal earlier in an earlier season or something like that. There just wasn't a lot of clear places where we would do that, but certainly as we kind of edit and rewrite it a bit, there might be another spot where that just makes more sense. So that could shift a bit. Any other final thoughts on episode 4?
I would say, in defense of it being a lot, it is the final episode in that core. So it is an ultimate episode for that string of 4.
Sure. That said, though, I wouldn't want the dragon revelation because it comes later to overshadow the death of Alexandria.
Yeah.
And I feel like it ties more neatly because the other big revelation, of course, right, is that her plan was to join the wards all along, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like those two have a through line that work well together. The AI revelation feels like it's just another like, oh, here's another thing we've been doing this whole time, kind of added on top.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Just my vibe.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
No,
that's
I
good.
agree.
That's a good good insight. Yeah. All right, we'll move along. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I had one more thought. Shit, what was it? Hold on. Just give me 1 second and it'll come to me. Oh, what were you guys planning for? Like, okay. So with everything with Alexandria, as is it written, it's off page. So we don't really have.
Oh,
it doesn't really happen because Taylor gets knocked the fuck out.
Right, she gets knocked out. Yeah.
Is it? What is the book? Because it's a hugely climactic moment, and for us to miss it because Taylor's passed out doesn't feel as cinematic. Like I don't want to miss it.
It would be very cut and dry in my mind, and I don't actually think Alan and I have really like hashed out scene by scene what this would look like. But in my mind, no, this is very, very cut and dry to the audience. You don't want to kind of skirt around this because when you do that, the implication to the audience is that, oh, they're not really dead.
They're not really dead. Yeah.
So no, this would be, in my mind, it's, the kind of thing where it's chaotic. Alexandria's choking. It's just this violent moment. She like takes off through the ceiling, is trying to get altitude, can't clear them from her throat. High up in the sky, something like that. There's this look of desperation. Takes her last breath. Her eyes roll back, and she plummets. And then Taylor gets knocked out. Like it's just very, very clear at that point. Because like obviously astute book readers know that technically Alexandria is only brain dead here, which is why Pretender can use her body, yada yada. That's where you gotta just move past that for a show. Like that's just too deep. Too deep into the lore. No, Alexandria is dead. That's gotta be very, very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still like the image in my head of her flying to the sky, and it's like she's clearly choking to death, and Taylor gets knocked out. And when you wake up, it's like, the question, did she make it or not? And, the answer we find out then is, oh, you murdered her. I like the suspension that we have there of like, oh, she's killing Alexandria. And then you wake up and it's like, nope, she killed her. Like confirmed. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, you married those two together. Like you have that moment of like Alexandra up in the sky. We follow her up. We see the whole eyes roll back thing. She plummets. And then of course she gets knocked out. Taylor gets knocked out. She wakes up like, well, what the fuck happened? Because even if we as the audience followed Alexandria into the sky, Taylor didn't. So Taylor doesn't know yet the outcome of her attack on Alexandria. And so us kind of having a little bit of knowledge ahead of the main character kind of feels like we're in on what's going on. We're feeling the gravity of it. We're watching Taylor's expression as she realized that like, no, you fucking killed. Because even with her eyes rolling back, her falling to the earth, you're like, wait, is she knocked out? Is she dead? Like, what the fuck just happened? Like, oh my God, she fucking hurt Alexandria. Like, and then she wakes up, what the fuck happens? Like, you fucking killed her. She is dead. And us to be like, holy shit. Like, we knew it was coming, but here it is. Like, the final finality of it. And yeah, it's good shit. It's good shit right there.
Cool beans. Good thoughts.
This episode of the Brockton Bay Book Club is sponsored by Maid Marian. Maid Marian creates custom cottagecore and run-fair clothing designed for every body. Whether you're looking for a lace-up bodice, rustic apron and pinafore, or ethereal dresses, you'll find items customized for every individual's fit and design. All items are lovingly hand-sewn with attention to detail and a touch of whimsy. Visit Maid Marian today and transform your wardrobe with clothing that feels as enchanting as it looks. Right now, through the end of November, Maid Marian is hosting its holiday sale, so now is a great time to make a purchase for a friend or to treat yourself. Find Maid Marian on Etsy at themaidmarian.etsy.com.
Move on to episode 5. For the record, I do think that'll be the bulk of where our conversation is. And a little bit at the end here too, but I have a feeling these next few episodes will be fairly smooth, minus maybe one or two things, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Episode 5 opens up with Taylor in prison and getting checked out by Defiant and Dragon. They talk about everything that happened, and they touch down to meet with the PRT leaders. The important people here are Weld's adoptive father, who is the leader of the Boston PRT. A couple of other...
Armstrong.
Armstrong,
I just remembered his name.
Armstrong. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. Because I'd asked about that. Armstrong. A couple other rando PRT leaders, Chevalier, Miss Militia, Clockblocker, Tecton, kind of the names, right? People give good testimony for her and what she's done. The PRT leaders roast her until Armstrong speaks up and says that he would take her on his team. The wards give her an initiation prank and welcome her to the team. We're kind of skipping a little bit here, but we're kind of moving bullet points. So she joins the wards. Theo and her talk about how the PRT is doing as a whole, that morale is down and is plummeting. He confides in her that Dinah gave him specifically a call to tell him that if they have any chance of stopping the end of the world, he needs to be there and to be ready to kill. And Taylor says that she'll get him ready. Weaver now and the wards go out and guard a villain named Pretender who is on trial and going to the birdcage. He mentions Taylor taking out Alexandria as a net negative that he couldn't achieve, and that he still plans on serving the greater good. Weaver is suspicious and believes that he plans on escaping. Meanwhile, the Numberman and Contessa waltz into the courthouse. End of the episode.
Yeah, I think this is pretty straightforward. I do think that the way this is written, it sounds like it's taking a bit of agency away from Taylor in how she kind of strong arms the PRT. Maybe that's
True.
purposeful, or maybe that was just an oversight. But importantly too, Clockblocker and Tecton, I don't know if they'd be there because they're not PRT leaders at this point, right? Just logically, I'm thinking maybe they'd be there because they're like representative of the wards, right?
Character witnesses. Is
Yeah,
what we would
character
have them
witnesses.
as.
Okay, sure. So
Tecton has been worked
yeah.
with her in the past, as an outsider from Brockton Bay. Clockblocker has literally fought against her in Brockton Bay. Miss Militia has been over the entire time to see what's going on in Brockton Bay for her. So
yeah, okay.
I think
okay,
the idea too being that they are also like the leaders of their respective ward teams, so a little bit more responsibility.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
but good thought. Yeah.
No, I think this makes sense. I could see this being, obviously you're trying to ramp up to the next core, as you said. This would be definitely a slower episode.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you're putting Pretender on trial as a villain rather than a former PRT member as well.
You caught that. Yeah.
Change.
One of our small changes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just kind of simplified things a bit for a new character. It also made it a bit more. So we kind of, if you notice, we cut out a kind of in between fight here against the group that I forget already because they were so forgettable.
Are we talking about the adepts?
Yeah. What were they called?
Butterfly.
Oh yeah.
The Taylor's trial into the PRT.
We sort of cut that for pacing reasons, and it was just sort of trying to cram a lot in. And we just sort of adjusted Pretender's role to be that of a villain so that this is still sort of like, quote, her first mission as a ward. And it's supposed to be kind of fairly simple. Just, hey, you're defending and escorting this villain on his way to the birdcage kind of thing.
Yeah.
I do still think, though, I kind of like the idea of Pretender being a former member of the PRT still.
Oh, we could still do that.
Okay with that. That's an easy fix.
Only because I think
the
whole thing, right? Yeah, because I think the whole thing is, if you have Theo and Taylor talking about how things in the PRT aren't good, you can even have that a bit like people when they're talking with Taylor, like, look, this is like the PRT feels like it's on the brink of collapse. We've got heroes walking away. And then you have this whole scene of Pretender's on trial because he was with the PRT, went rogue, maybe killed a few people, like, I don't know, whatever you want to say. He
did a favor for Cauldron.
Yeah, did a favor. And, we don't necessarily need to know that it was a favor in this moment, but just having that, I think, feels like a better connection than here's a random villain you're guarding.
Yeah.
That Cauldron happens to want, right?
That's good. That's a good thought. I like that. Okay.
And it'll feel worse and better that he was a former member of the PRT, I think, when he comes back later.
Yeah.
Because he knows the systems. He knows the intricate workings.
Yes.
Yeah. Good points.
And that also makes a bit more sense with him being like, look, this is all part of the greater good thing, right? Because that's Cauldron's whole thing too, is like the greater good at any cost.
Right.
Yeah. Really.
Justifying the means, baby.
Literally, it's like, would you kill 1 million people to save 1,000,001? And they're like, well, yeah, obviously.
Well, Dedoy.
Yeah.
If you've ever watched
the math checks out.
Fate Zero, that is the ultimate spoilers. The ultimate decision at the end of that is essentially the trolley problem, but each time the number becomes closer and closer. So it starts off like 10 million, 10 people are a million people, and it's like obviously the million. It's like cool. It gets down to like, all right, one person or this other person. You're like, oh shoot.
Yep.
Do I know the person?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Moving along. Episode 6. Take it
Episode
away.
6.
Yeah.
All right. So the wards are ambushed by the Number Man and Contessa, who end up freeing Pretender, leave saying that they're doing this for mankind in order to fight the Endbringers, not quite unlike what Taylor did. Upon returning, Taylor gets chewed out for how she handled the fight, and Taylor gets into it with the PRT about their lack of transparency, the lack of urgency about the end of the world, and their general practice. Leaving the meeting, Taylor talks to her team about the end of the world and the need to prepare for it. Theo, of course, is the first to join in, and the two of them talk about how, Jack ending the world and all of that. Taylor sits down for therapy with Miss Yamada, discussing Taylor's image, like how she sees herself, how others see herself, and the idea of recording herself the next time she goes out. She also vents all of her frustrations about how no one else seems to be taking this seriously, and Taylor has second thoughts about, having given up everything to work with the PRT on this. Dragon later reaches out to Taylor and reassures her that her and Defiant are working on the end of the world problem. It's not just her. And as soon as they have something and Taylor graduates the wards, which will be pretty soon, they'll all take it on together. Weaver and the wards hang out with the high schoolers, and Taylor does her little role playing there, finishing on just how bad the Endbringer fights are and what it takes to survive. The heroes all get that fateful call that Behemoth is attacking in India, so they all hop onto the Dragon vessel with Dragon Defiant inside, picks them up. The kids watch Weaver and the other heroes as the ramp closes and they take off.
Cool. I mean, pretty straightforward. Yeah, I like the idea of the wards, including Taylor, just getting absolutely wrecked by Contessa and the Number Man.
Yeah.
Just to, emphasize how strong they are. I do think a good point to bring up there maybe could be something like, because Taylor wants to impress the PRT, wants to get on their good side, maybe she's the one who kind of makes the call to back down from fighting them more. Kind of like, not that Contessa has to do this here because she might do it in India as well if they meet again. But that whole I don't really want to kill you, but if you keep fighting me and stopping me, I will have to take measures.
Yeah.
So something to that effect where Taylor just realizes, look, guys, we're way out of our depth here.
Yep.
Pulls everybody
absolutely.
back.
That is sort of what I was imagining. Is that
yeah.
Taylor realizes this is a fight that she cannot win.
Yeah. And it might emphasize even a little bit the fact that she may have some thinker powers as well, which we've talked about in the main podcast. Yeah, so again, getting chewed out for how she handled that makes sense then. Wasn't it middle schoolers instead of high schoolers? I feel like younger
I believe
kids
it
makes
is
more
high
sense.
schoolers.
Was it high schoolers?
In the book?
I believe so.
In the book? I thought it
believe
was middle
so.
schoolers.
No.
I actually legit thought they were younger than that. I thought
they are. I thought they were
they elementary kids?
Yeah, I thought
No,
it was
they're not elementary kids.
But I might have misread that.
Michael, could you double check that for us?
Maybe they are middle schoolers.
Well, only because the wards
the butterflies. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
There's butterflies.
Oh yeah, there's
She
butterflies.
has them
They gotta
chasing
be
the
elementary
butterflies.
kids.
Yeah, they're maybe elementary. And I imagine that the kids that she ends up talking to are the ones that are they're a little bit older. They're
the fifth graders.
Yeah, they're the fifth graders.
They're just old enough to be assholes at that age.
Right.
That's true.
That's right. If anybody knows, it is the teacher of the group. I imagine them as a lot younger. I did not imagine them because the whole thing is she's trying to point out that hey, keep an eye on these kids because if anyone's going to trigger, it's going to be them, and that's supposed to be what early adolescence.
Yeah. Weaver Dice is getting skipped. I did notice that.
I noticed that as well.
Yeah. We're not going to skip it. Just kind of reframe it so that it's less here's a break to play some TTRPGs. and more like
I'm
and more
actually okay
like-
if you skip it.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think it's that big of a deal.
You know what I think you could do, and Jacob, I know you'll appreciate it. You remember that video you sent of that interview of the girl, like the woman doing like a quote unquote D&D session? I can't remember her name.
Deborah Ann Wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
fantastic.
imagine it being something more like that, right? Where she's like, okay, work with me here. You
Like
want to
a-
be
yeah.
like, what's a power that you think of? And the kid's like, I don't know, flight. Cool, you fly, but I'm going to give you a downside. And then he's like, what? That's
Yeah.
BS. He's like, that's the way it is. Now you want to be a hero or villain. And she just kind of talks him through it rather than being the leaving it up to random chance. Let's roll some dice so that it's totally fair. Just kind of gives him the,
Life isn't fair, kid.
Yeah. The tough toenails talk,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the what?
You know,
What did you just call
the
it?
tough luck talk.
That's not what you just said. What did you say?
It's a
Did you?
It's like the censored version of tough tits.
no,
Wait, tough
toenails.
tits? Wait, is that also?
I've never heard tough tits though.
Wait, did you say tough toenails?
Yes, I did.
Jeez.
It's something I've gotten into the habit of doing with my own kids, where instead of saying tough luck, I say tough toenails.
I love
know
it
why.
so much.
No, it's
oh
so
my
good.
gosh. These are the important things you have to instill in your
Yeah.
children, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
These are the things that matter.
It's great too when you can get them to repeat it, and I'll be like, I'm like, and
When you
what
know
do you
you've
think
won.
I'm going to say to you, son? And he's like, tough toenails.
Because
Like, that's exactly right.
That's right.
they're the
Say
cutest.
my name.
Say my name. Who am I?
I am Daddy Bird.
I am your father.
Yeah, Nick, to your point, that is exactly what I imagined. That this is just like I put in my notes. It's role playing rather than literally rolling a dice. If there is, it's a single dice. Taylor's not breaking them up. She just has them, in front of people. And to correct myself, it is middle schoolers. That is.
Okay. It is middle school. Very cool.
Anything else in that?
I think, could we get, at the end of this episode, could we get a flash of Behemoth in India? Just like for the cliffhanger.
Give it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't need to
suppose we
be
can.
anything more than like a 5-second Godzilla style shot, right? I know it's not that big.
No,
I
do-
think
do like
silhouette
that.
and fire would be great.
Yeah.
just something to be like Behemoth's in India, and Weaver, maybe waves to the kids, and a couple of them wave back. And as it closes, it just kind of pans up, and you see the fire, the lightning, whatever. Just something to tantalize my senses.
Tickle my
No,
taint.
you're right.
Let's go.
right.
Exactly, Hannah.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
right. We do need it. Just a little buzz. Yeah.
A little zoop zoop.
It's you're pre-gaming. A little shot,
It's a little
Just-
pre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little pre.
Exactly.
Little pre. I hate this already.
You're doing it. You're doing it. You're the one.
Sometimes I forget that we're recording and we're not just like our friend group just hanging out.
Yeah.
And then I remember that this will be on the internet forever.
Yeah, that's right. You can't come in here and just, Hannah, I'm about to pre.
No.
You can't just throw that in there.
Okay, we can move
I wonder
on.
what the Venn diagram of Worm fans and Game Grumps
Defiant.
fans is.
Yeah.
What?
Hey, Dragon, get in here.
What?
Dragon.
It was pretty funny. The Brockton Bay Book Club, pretty funny guys. I'm gonna pre.
Episode 7. We're gonna move on. So episode 7 starts off. Taylor and Dragon talk on board their little ship about what they're walking into, and mentioning that the Undersiders will be there as well. Defiant gives Taylor her backpack, her jetpack, and they chat as well, kind of make up a little bit over the course of this whole adventure they've had. Weaver, with a new kit, is told by Tecton that she is taking over. This is her team, her show. Weaver rallies the troops, and when they hit the ground, realizes that they can start by building lightning rods to redirect the ambient lightning field around Behemoth. They succeed in building the rods and begin rescuing people who are injured. They run into the Undersiders, minus Tattletale, who is with High Command. And after a reunion, they all continue to rescue people. Alexandria shows up, much to people's confusion. Taylor wonders what Behemoth is. Yeah, much confusion. Taylor wonders what Behemoth is doing, and Tattletale and her suss out where he's headed. With the help of 2 local capes, Weaver and Grace separate from the team to investigate the power source Behemoth is chasing. They find Fierce, and Weaver stops the local capes from killing him, getting them killed in the process. Back at the triage station, portals open and Cauldron begins taking people. The remaining wards and undersiders try to fight Contessa, who easily defeats them, and they give up. Fierce has his large laser that he will fire in a line as Behemoth chases him, leaving no exit. But Weaver asks for more time to trap Behemoth so that he can shoot a portal from below instead. She says, have faith and to give her 15 minutes. End of episode.
I'm sorry. I need you to repeat a word for me, Jacob.
Yeah, I think I know which one.
Go ahead and say it.
No, hold on. I don't know. Wait, there was a couple. Which one do you want me to say? Why don't you say it first?
No.
I think it was the delicious flavor of
just the letter T.
The tri-aged Parmesan.
Triage.
Triage.
Yeah.
It's triage.
Thank you.
I love that so much.
You know those words that you'll say all the time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then, I got to throw my buddy Dylan under the bus every time this conversation comes up. And he's not going to listen to this because he hates me. But he,
good buddy.
Until I corrected him at the age of like 26, he pronounced the word genre as Jenner.
Or if you're Allan, Genry.
It's how it's
Allan
spelled.
Did it too? Allan? Come on.
Also, it's even better for me because I thought genre and Genry were 2 separate things as well.
Oh, even better.
I didn't think those were the same word.
Even better.
If we're confessing our foibles in pronunciation, in Harry Potter, Fleur Delacour is nicknamed Phlegm, but I'd never heard the word before. I'd only seen it, so I thought it was pronounced phlegm, like it's spelled.
Phlegm. Yeah, phlegm.
Which I think is funnier than phlegm, but
I like it. That one's good.
I always pronounced Persephone as Persephone, and I thought it was the stupidest name ever. And I remember someone was talking about like, oh, it's such a pretty name, and I was like, what are you talking about? It's the worst. And then someone
Persephone,
yeah. And then someone said Persephone, and I was like, oh, that's so pretty. It's so much better than what I thought it was.
To be fair, the Greeks were
it's some weird ones.
Yeah.
That does bring up the whole, this is a whole side tangent, so we might need to edit this out, but the whole pronouncing English words as though they're Greek heroes, like testicles.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yep. I
love it. So, anyways, episode 7. Trying to think of if there's anything in particular. Most of it is fine. I do think I like the idea of having Weaver and Grace separate from the team. I guess my question here is with the end of this episode with Fierce, I really liked Fierce having this plan because I think we talked about, didn't you say, what are the themes you have kind of for this season? Was one of them like,
identity
whatever it takes?
Doing what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, doing what it takes. I think that not having Fierce say all of the things that he wants to, because the way it's written here, at least in the way that you've talked about it in the notes, is that it seems like Fierce knows Behemoth is after him, and this is his desperate attempt to escape. Instead of
it's not escape. It's him lining him up. He knows that he's coming after him, and what he's doing is he's getting him in line, and then he's going to fire it when he's right on top of him. And Taylor's saying, hey, instead of blasting half of India apart, we'll trap him in one place and you just fire up from there. That way you don't kill everyone.
I don't know. I like the stakes just being what it was in the story of her saying he's an energy, like he's a kinetic user. This is incredibly risky. I don't know. I feel like this is almost an unnecessary complication because it feels like if Fierce is going to be presented as a smart cape, then shooting a beam of energy into half of India seems like a dumb thing to do, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just a
Yeah.
small thing. And it's, it's a maybe, and obviously this is just ideas, outlines. So I'm not saying that you're not thinking of that already. It's just something that came to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part
no,
of what
good
makes
thought.
me think this as an alternative is that, I completely agree, and I feel like Taylor should agree with Fierce in this. Like, it's a risk, and it might not work out, but like, it's a good risk. And then Taylor's like, I feel like a little too opposed to it. Like, she makes a good point, but at the end of it's like, look, we're either all gonna die here, or you shoot it and it charges him up, and we're all die. Like, it's not a great option. He's like, look, I'm charging this up. I'm gonna shoot it either way. She calls him a madman. He doesn't feel mad to me at all. But if we had him say like, hey, look, we could either lose, 100 million people to Behemoth now, or I could blast a hole in here and just, whoever remnants, whatever heroes are in the way, get hit, like, oh, well. It makes him feel a little bit more mad if that's what we're going for.
Mhm.
If we just want the debate whether this will work or not, then like, that's also fine. We just don't call him a madman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I did really like Fierce in the story as a foil to Taylor because of the whole right? Because they have the whole conversation about, you've clearly lost someone. He's like, yeah, I lost my wife and kid, and I could have gone back in time with my power, with the time loop power. However, if I did, then a greater threat would have survived. So, and not that you have to include that specifically, but I really did like Fierce being the foil to Weaver of, again and again, emphasizing with Cauldron again that whole idea of the greater good at any cost. I don't know. It's just a thought, but it could work too. Again, obviously, a lot of that would be worked out in scripting. So if it was
Yeah,
scripted
true.
right, then it would
Yeah.
be fine.
Yeah, it's a good point though. 'Cause I'm gonna keep in mind for that.
But yeah, did Fierce survive? I don't think he did. Right?
I don't know if it ever
He-
says.
Did he? I don't know if he did or not.
No,
Or does he?
I think he gets
I thought he
got.
did. Does he get got? I'm gonna.
You know
I
what?
don't think he got
I'm not sure.
got.
I don't think
I
he did.
think
The vibe I get is he probably. I'll bet you as soon as he left, Cauldron just comes in and yoinks him.
zip zap, zippy zap,
Or he
zoop
just
him.
like, he just trips and hits his head or
Or
something.
yeah, or he portals out.
Yeah.
Uh,
He gets
So he's
Um,
part of the
yeah.
Thonda. He might still be alive because he's part of the Thonda.
yeah. Thonda. Feel the Thonda.
Feel the thunder.
Lightning in the Thonda.
We got
Thonda.
one episode left.
Oh no! Later, it was reported he was killed near the end of the battle. Never mind.
Ah.
Oh,
Okay,
There it is.
here's something we'll talk about. We'll go back to this. There's a lot of people that die in this battle that are kind of significant that we barely find out about. Dragon is one of those. Like,
yeah.
Dragon gets taken out, and it's like, honestly, it is not explicitly said, it's implied, as are many other deaths. So I'm just like, what the hell? I don't even remember Dragon the first couple of times I was reading getting blown up. Like, anyway, Fierce is on that. Fierce is on that list of people of like, really? We should probably have that be more known.
Yeah, definitely some room to sort of show some of those moments in these episodes, especially since the last two episodes are essentially the Behemoth fight. Plenty of time to spread out some of the action and story beats.
Yeah.
All right. Alan, take it away.
My only comment on the last of that is we also, I thought I'd taken it out there, but I guess we don't have to have Alexandria come back.
Yeah, we had
I
talked
like
about
it.
that a little bit. It kind of
It
depends.
feels a little weird how quickly she returns. But I think if we made it more apparent, like obviously we'd do like the purple eyes with Pretender or something like that, and maybe make it
Yeah,
more
we'd have to do it
apparent
right,
what is
for sure.
going on there, or show that off later, maybe. I don't know. It just feels odd in the serial.
Yeah.
To have
One
it
idea.
so sudden.
Yeah, that's true. It does come back pretty quick. One idea would be, rather than having it just happen in the middle of this episode, which is more accurate to the serial, have Taylor take off running, telling everyone they got to hold down Behemoth, whatever it takes. I'm reading ahead a bit, sorry. But the idea is in the next episode, then somebody says, "Don't worry, we've got someone coming who can hold him down." And then she appears. And then it's kind of this like, what is happening? Like, is she alive? You have the purple eyes thing still. Just maybe one way rather than a random insert. My concern would be thinking ahead to what's happening is, would her return via Pretender be lost in the noise of sort of the time skippy nature of the next few arcs, if that makes sense?
Right.
I agree with you there. I think because we only see it once, and like you said, the time skipping nature of the next bit, I think maybe we cut it. And I think this is something that we cut for now, but if we feel like it narratively works out in the final season, then we come back and re-add it.
Yeah. That is pretty
I could
easy
see
to
that.
put back in. Yeah. That's true.
All right.
Bring us
with
home,
that,
Alan.
last episode. Episode 8. Taylor takes off running, tells everyone that they have to hold Behemoth at a certain location, do whatever it takes. This is the last stand. They meet with the Undersiders again, and Regent heroically dies protecting Imp. The heroes all hold Behemoth down, and Fierce fires off the laser, burning Behemoth to naught but a skeleton. Right before they're about to celebrate their unbelievable battle, the skeleton gets up and keeps going. But Scion zooms in and kills the Endbringer. With the fight over, the heroes retreat and on the flight home begin calling their loved ones. Taylor is called in for a tribunal over her actions based on the footage that the PRT stole from her. She, in retaliation, broadcasts the meeting to the entire building and the heroes in it, telling them she will force them to be transparent if that's what it takes, to not show people that the end is coming, but in fact that they can win as long as they are willing to do what it takes. She leaves, and that night she is rewatching her footage from her body cam. I already gave up everything, my identity, my family, my time, my energy, my life, to do what it takes. If they need my privacy as well, if that's what it takes for them to see that to get the world to see what's really happening, to get to the world to see that there is an end coming, and we need to be willing to do what we need to in order to win, then I'll gladly give it. She hits send and posts the video. End of season 8 or episode 8.
Yeah. I think it's a good ending. I think this works well. I think removing Glenn from the storyline, again, kind of an extra character that's fun for the story, but because this is television, it's a lot faster. I think it makes sense to remove him from the equation. And then it gave Taylor a bit more agency in her own narrative, which I like as well.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And like, not to, spoil and jump ahead, but like the idea that this was like the final, the video, the footage getting posted online, being kind of this final break between her and Gru, like that, like he was really hurt by the fact that like their private moment is online. And I like the idea that she is choosing to do that, not like Glenn is posting that and she's like, well, I had no choice in the matter and like I didn't get to choose whatever. But like that she is not only giving up her own privacy, but she's giving up the privacy of like that moment with Gru and like the moment with the Undersiders and like with Regent dying. Like she's broadcasting all of that. So it's not just her, but of course, classic Taylor, she's literally kind of not seeing that side of things. Like, oh, this could actually hurt a lot of people's feelings and this could actually cause a lot of rifts in my relationships with people. And she's just like, I
Yeah.
have to do what's right. I'm gonna do what I'm supposed to do. I'm gonna sacrifice everything. Like, yeah, no, classic Taylor. I like that a lot.
I think for a build-up, we talk about identity being a theme here. We start all the way back at the beginning, where Taylor is a person, and then she develops this supervillain persona, and she struggles between the two. And she still, even when she's more villain than Taylor, and she's more scared than Taylor, she still has that part of her. And ultimately, at the beginning of this season, she is almost entirely Taylor gone, and she loses it. She loses her ability to be Taylor. She is just Skitter, or her cape side. And when she does this, she posts her video. She's giving up like her last bit of individuality in that. She's no longer an individual hero. She is kind of giving herself up to be a force of good, if you will. She's giving up her personal identity, like as an individual. And we'll get to that even more in the final season, which is something that I've always felt in the writing. Is Taylor, when she talks with Theo, the way she interacts with people, what she's doing, she doesn't feel like a person anymore. She feels like a robot going through the motions, and which is perfect because that just leads right into the end where it just fits. Like, and I think this is it. She gives up her personhood. She becomes that robot that's just chugging along, ramping up, preparing to do what it takes, yada, yada, yada. And then the payoff.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's a good ending. I think it works. It's fun.
Yeah. Another reason, you'll probably already thought of this, but people haven't seen, they talk about this with the Echidna fight and other stuff around there. A big part of the video releasing is people haven't seen heroes go all out. They haven't seen Endbringer fights up close. They just kind of get evacuated and see the after effects.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we are seeing what happens there, what we're facing. We assume it's the Endbringers, of course, that is what's, and this is really Taylor's push to be like, hey, this is how bad it is. This is what we can do if we team up. And like everybody, not just heroes, like the world needs to get its shit together and treat this like, the idea that the world's coming to an end obviously would send everybody into mass panic. So like, they don't want to say that, but this is one of those things where like the world needs to take this seriously. Like, don't say that the world's ending, but say that like, hey, there's a major threat coming and we kind of need to get all the nations on. Yeah, get all the nations on board with that. Get all the teams on board. Like, we need to stop that right where in its tracks.
So.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Any final thoughts?
No, I think it seems like a good season overall. I like the direction you guys took a lot with it. Obviously voiced the critiques and potential changes were needed, but I think overall you've done a good job of capturing the vibe of what this season is about, of what this section of Worm is about. So yeah. Very, very pleased.
Thank you. Yeah, this season is it started pretty, like, personally, it's pretty skeptical at how well this was going to adapt. I had a feeling this would be one of the weaker seasons in the whole show. And while that still might be the case, because just personally, some of my favorite moments happen elsewhere, I do think this could work really well as a nice sort of bridge season between the rest of the show and kind of the finale. I think there's a lot of really good moments here that'd be a lot of fun to see play out on screen.
Yeah. It seems good. I feel like watching this would probably be a phenomenal season.
That's the hope. Well, thank you both for joining us as always on these recaps. Super great to hear your feedback. A lot of great ideas. A lot of good call outs. Sort of questioning things that we've changed, making sure that we are doing it for the right reasons. And we need all of you listening to do the same, because that's what's so fun about all of this. So if you have any thoughts about the changes that we've made here, please let us know. Leave us comments on YouTube, Reddit, Instagram, wherever you're listening to this. If you are one of our patrons, you can leave us comments directly on our exclusive Discord, which is a lot of fun. And if that sounds like fun to you, think about joining the Patreon.
There's a lot of good memes in there too.
A lot of good memes, a lot of good times. We jump in, have chats every now and then, discussing ideas and themes and whatnot. A special shout out to one of our patrons who did recommend the swap between Dennis and Greg in the first part of this season. So, we might use your ideas. You never know. There's some good ideas out there.
Yeah.
And all of your little funds help fund our pizza parties and help us pay Michael, who puts so much
mastermind
work into all of this, making us sound good, editing this all together. So thank you, Michael, for all the hard work you do. And even if not, we do really appreciate you guys listening. It means the world to us. We have so much fun reading Worm and discussing it and having these super nerdy conversations about TV shows that will never happen. So we hope that you enjoy it. You'll join in with us and stick around for future episodes of Dissecting Worm, diving into the final season, if you can believe it.
Holy macaroni!
I
can't believe we're finally here. It doesn't feel like
crazy.
It. Doesn't feel like it.
We're here. It's crazy. Yeah. And then as always, the Brockton Bay Book Club, we're going to continue on. We got a few more arcs to go. So stick around. A lot of fun stuff to post. Thanks again for listening, Michael. I was going to say, Michael, play us out, but that's not how we end Dissecting Worm episodes.
No.
Sorry.
Just because Nick and I are here, don't let that confuse you, Jacob.
Do we all want to say it, or?
Yeah, we give a count, like a 3, 2, 1.
Give me a countdown.
Yeah. Okay.
3, 2. 1. Oh my God.
Super solid. Super solid,
like
my guy.
1,
2,
2.
Take that,
you
worms. Oh
Take
my
that,
God.
Worm.
Thank you so much for listening. Read along with us at parahumans.wordpress.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you love? What did you hate? Anything you think we missed, etc., as long as it's kind. If you'd like to get in touch, you can find us on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit at Brocktonbaybc, or click the link in the description.